Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another video. In this tutorial video, I will continue on painting the skin that I did in the previous tutorial video, and I hope to do some veining. Um, Painting veins can be a little bit intimidating, just like everything else about a predator and a reptilian skin. But I just want to show you guys that doesn't have to be difficult or intimidating at all. It just takes a little bit of a preparation, a little bit of confidence in yourself. I'm just going to show you that you know you this is a good way to start out painting veins. First of all, you can see that the previous layers are really nicely done. You can see that there are a ton of colors going on right here. You've got the pinkish color, you got yellow, green, even a little bit of bluish hue to it, and obviously the sand color that I've used. As you can see, it turned out really nicely. I applied a varnish to it, so it's ready for the next layers basically. But you can see that the painting technique that I did in the previous video did a really nice job at making this look like skin. Um, gonna warn you guys before I'm gonna apply the first kind of veins to it. This is test piece, so it doesn't have to kind of. I'm not aiming for perfection. First, what you want to do is you want to look at the sculpt, like where would I like to put some veins down? For example, right here you um, have like a shape in the sculpt that would kind of like be an interesting place to have some veining right here. It looks like a muscle or just something that could could have like a veining effect or something like that. And this is you want to go around the sculpt and see, okay, where would it make sense for there to be a vein, and you don't want to put it somewhere where it's gonna draw all the attention to it. You want to make it subtle, and you don't want to overdo it. So you want to start small, and like I said in the previous video, less is more. You can always add more to it later. So what I've done for veins, I took 2 drops of ultramarine blue, AK Interactive ultramarine blue, and then 2 drops, and then I did 4 drops of thinner, and then you get like a very watery kind of color, and that is just basically to make it flow a little bit better. If you think it's okay, it's still a little bit too painty, or not thin enough, you can add a little bit of water. Don't overdo it, but just watch and see if it's gonna smoothly getting off the brush. And it's okay if it's a little bit transparent. That's actually a really good start. Um, Starting with a more transparent layer or vein is actually pretty good because you can always go back in and make it a little bit darker. So, all right. Was talking about this spot. I think that's a really nice. It kind of looks like a vein. So, I'm just gonna really slowly paint that vein right here. And you always want to make sure that you paint in waves, or you make it look like a lightning strike basically. You don't want to go straight. So curly, or make it like a lightning strike, or just as long as it kind of looks natural and it doesn't look like it's one straight line. veins are not straight. They run through the body. And right here you can see we painted a really, really thin line. And you can branch it off if you want to. So, and I want to kind of have it fade out in the ends, so that it's kind of disappearing underneath the skin. So there we go, we're branching off. There we go. That's how easy it is now. We're seeing that there's a little bit of a fixed spot right there, and it kind of draws attention to it. So what I do is I take these very, very tiny cotton sticks that are being used for I think watch cleaning and small electronic parts cleaning. And you kind of want to take a little bit of water, put it on the cotton tip, and then you're gonna kind of dab it on to thin that out. Then you're gonna take your brush and you want to take a little bit of paint and there we go. As you can see that this model has netting, so that's kind of interfering with our flow. The brush doesn't flow over the model in a real natural kind of way, in a smooth way, because of the netting gets in the way. You kind of have to ignore the netting. There's no way around it. If you have a model that doesn't have netting, you obviously don't have that problem. You could just smoothly drag that brush over the model. So that is kind of like a really cool vein. We're gonna leave that for now, and I think it's just bright enough, and you can see that it has like a dark color, and then it kind of disappears into the skin. That's kind of what I want, and I can always go back in later to darken that up a little bit, but for now it's really good. So I want to kind of look for other places where it would make sense for there to be a vein. So we got on the other side, we got some muscles. It looks like the muscles are being stretched or something like that because he's moving or he's standing in a certain position. But to counter this vein, would be kind of cool to have like a vein here as well. You can see here, right here there's a line, and that looks like an interesting kind of line to follow. It flows really well with the model, so I think I'm gonna use that as my guide and put a vein there as well. So we're taking our paint. This is a very, very fine brush, as you can see. Let me see if the camera will focus on that. There we go. You can see a really fine tip. You could go even smaller, and there are also detail brushes that are really long and have a really fine tip. You can also go that route. It's kind of whatever you prefer, what makes you comfortable, and practice on test models or test pieces, or kind of on plastic or something like that. Paint up a piece of plastic as you were painting a real model, and then just you know, step by step, try out different techniques, and just, you know, pretend the thing that you're painting, pretend it's like a real model, and just, you know, try it out. And for this, I want to start a little bit high. It's a little bit heavy, I see. I just want to fade it out. And as you can see, I went a little bit heavy. So I'm gonna take the cotton stick, dip it in water, let that water absorb a little bit, and I'm just gonna dab onto that paint a little bit, and either thinning that effect, or take it off completely and then go back in to kind of fix that. It was a little bit too strong. I had a little bit too much paint on. That's okay, we can fix it. We sealed the model, so we sealed the previous layer, so we should be okay and not damage that previous layer. So we want to take off a little bit more paint, and we're just gonna start again. And now there's not enough on it. That's perfect. There we go. There's a vein. Very satisfied with that. And now we kind of want to look where it would kind of be an interesting part to branch off. And I think that this raised kind of bump, so in our line basically, would be a perfect kind of spot to have it branch off. Let's see. You just have it branch off like that, and then again have it fade out into nothing. And there we go, we have a second vein. And with branching off, you wanna really look at where it kind of looks natural. You don't want to just go just willy-nilly. You want to think about where you're gonna put that vein. I want to make this a little bit more defined on the first vein that we did, so we're gonna go back in, take off a little bit of paint. Too much. Took off too much. And you want to play around with the paint a little bit. You really gotta find your kind of preferred thickness. There we go. I want to make that separation a little bit more defined that way. Now, and put a little bit more paint here. And look, it's not difficult. It's intimidating. There's a difference. The technique is really simple. You take a really thin brush, you manage the thickness of your paint, you make it so that it flows really well on your model, and you start drawing really thin lines. It's not difficult. It's intimidating. And what makes this so intimidating is that you tend to overthink it. You tend to overdo it. You think, oh, I need lots of branching off, and I need lots of, really long, stretched out veins, and that's overthinking it. You don't have to go that route. You can also go for a lot of smaller veins, just really tiny veins, just blue marks or blue stripes. Just make them look like a little bit like it's lightning. You don't have to overdo it, and like I said, less is more. And just work on it until you're satisfied with the result. If you think, oh, it's a little bit too thin here, just really gently, just gently. Like I said, the techniques that I've shown you guys are not difficult. If I can do it, I'm an idiot. I'm a retard. Man, I have to practice things 10 times before I apply it to a real model. I practice, practice, practice. So if I can do it, anybody else can do it. It's just you have to set aside the the intimidation, basically, and that is, you have to work on it. Basically, you have to work on the thing that it is that intimidates you, and if you can, that's where practice comes in. Practice takes away the anxiety and the doubt, and there's no need for that, because painting is not hard. It's picking up the brush. It's not being intimidated that's hard. Intimidating, that's hard. So now we've got two really nicely looking veins. I'm very satisfied with that. I wouldn't change this. I wouldn't. I'm not gonna branch it off. I think they're looking really nice. So now it's on to another spot, and I want to change it up a little bit and not go from the outside in. I want to maybe go from the inside out, or maybe a little bit vertical. So we're gonna just look at the model right now and kind of look at where there are any more spots that would be interesting. For example, there we go. So, all right, we're gonna do a small vein. Clean our brush with just water. I think it's kind of cool looking if we branch it off a little bit. Gonna fade that out a little bit right there. That's how simple it is. And you gotta remember that we're gonna blend it in with the rest of the skin. So if it looks a little bit bright blue right now, we're gonna bury it underneath another layer of skin, basically. So it's gonna be real subtle. It's gonna be there, but it's gonna be real subtle. And I think on a piece like this, you don't have to go overboard. I think we've done enough on this, on the front, basically. So would I add more veins to it? Maybe just a small one. clean the brush, take some paint, and just keep checking, like as you're kind of working, the paint is gonna dry. So keep checking your paint thickness. Just keep adding just a tiny bit of water or thinner, whichever you prefer. Like I said, every paint is different, so it kind of really depends on what you kind of like as for how the paint flows for you. I definitely have my preferences, so there we go. Just I want to branch it off in a spot where it kind of makes sense. Doesn't look out of place. There we go. That's all I want to do with it, in the front at least. So maybe we can go to the back. Maybe add a vein right here. I'm going to branch that off a little bit. And it's there we go. And that's basically how easy it is to do veining. And you could add more, you can add less, but this is just a small little tutorial on blue veining. And you can basically do this exact same thing with red veining. And red veining is even more intimidating than blue veining, but the red just simulates a lot of blood vessels and stuff like that. I mean, if you look at your skin, you got blue and red at the same time. I would take it a little bit easier with the red and just do a little bit of practice, do a few little test runs, like I said, on a test model or a piece of plastic that you're gonna paint up just like a real model. Just practice, and you know, make sure that you have a really fine brush like this. Come on. There we go. So this is just a cheap Chinese brand brush. I think I ordered it with some accessories that I ordered at some point, and I just, you know, added these for a couple of bucks. I think were $2 for 3 or something like that, and they work really well. I mean, they hold their tip really, really well. And just, you know, you don't have to get super expensive with your brushes either. So just, you know, practice and keep your brushes clean, manage the thickness of your paint, and always remember, as you're painting, as you're really focused, time goes by, the paint dries up and it gets a little bit thicker. So, you know, keep an eye on that. You don't want really thick paints on your model like this. You want it subtle, and you still want to be able to kind of be able to bury it. So remember, this is not difficult. It's intimidating. So remember, practice, practice, practice. And that's, I can't make it any easier for you guys. Obviously, there are guys out there who can do it with an airbrush. I don't feel very comfortable using an airbrush for these type of lines. Not yet. I have an airbrush that can do it, but I can't do it. So, but this technique works really well for me. I mean, once you kind of know that less is more, and once you kind of know to figure out where to put them and not overdo it, it kind of starts working for you. And I don't think if something works for you, use it. Don't overcomplicate things. I think that's something important to remember. So, guys, just another quick little tutorial for you guys. I am going to, at some point, add the red veining as well. And the next tutorial is going to be on some shading and how to bury the veining. And then we're gonna move on to the spot patterns and stuff like that, and how you can start out by doing that. Hope you liked the video. Hey, if you guys like what I'm doing, please subscribe to the channel. It would really help me out. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions. I try to answer everyone. I have the comment section on manual approval, so if you leave a comment, I have to approve it manually, so don't worry if it doesn't show up first, but I'll get to you as soon as I can. Again, guys, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I could really use your support right now. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next tutorial.